That's right. It's orange and blue today on a huge news day, Mace. This is monumental here.
Yeah. I feel like we got about a month's worth of news in about 4 hours or so today.
Yeah.
There's so much to parse through. What we're not going to talk about, you can read about at denversports.com. And we're going to get to more of it in future shows as we kind of expand, marinate on some of the things we heard, like new uniforms. I know that's not your favorite topic, but it's one of my favorite topics.
Yes.
But as we keep saying, it all starts with the quarterback position. And so understandably, when Sean Payton spoke this morning here in Orlando, that was topic number one. First, getting some questions about Jarrett Stidham and moving on from Russell Wilson.
Right.
But I think we'll focus on the past in a little bit. We're going to keep the focus on the here and now and the future. And starting with the notion of, could the Broncos trade up? There was some cold water poured on it by NFL Network's Ian Rappaport last Friday.
Yes.
And then Ian showed up at Sean Payton's press conference, and Sean told him something differently.
Sean let him know. He let him know that moving up is realistic.
I think that's realistic. I think it's realistic. I know your report suggested otherwise, but it's realistic.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, no, it did. I would. I think it's realistic. What's hard to predict, though, is like what's on the receiving end. You know, I think it's good to be Monty today at Arizona, right? So it's hard to predict what that cost is, and yet I certainly wouldn't say it's unrealistic, and we'll pay close attention to it.
Moving on up was realistic for George and Wheezy Jefferson back
That's right.
in 1975. And moving up is realistic. Look, this doesn't mean it won't cost a pretty penny.
Right.
And we'll get more into that as the weeks progress here. However, it's something that's very much in play. And if the Broncos love one or two of the quarterbacks who don't go in the first two picks, then number 4 could be very much a spot where the Broncos go. And then if Minnesota jumps you to 3, you still get a quarterback that you love at 4. If you love Drake May and JJ McCarthy,
yes,
you might be in position to just take whichever one falls to you at 4 if you can make that deal. And I think it's significant, Cease, that Sean specifically mentioned Monty Austinfort, the general manager for the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, Arizona sitting there at 4, the Broncos sitting there at 12. And it's funny to note, and we need someone out there to do this meme for us because we don't have any time today. We will have an OBT2, but he begins the press conference this morning at the breakfast table. I'm not going to talk about players. About 10, 15 minutes in, I ask him about pro days, and he starts talking about a very specific player.
For some of these guys, we'll have an individual day separate. You know, I wasn't at JJ's pro day, but we had a private the next day where we sent him a bunch of information, spent 4 or 5 hours with him, and made him throw all over again. You know, and I think it's all part of the process, and I think it can help lead to at least a more efficient and effective decision.
You know, when we heard from George Payton a little bit later on, I don't know that he was all that thrilled that Sean specifically mentioned that they did the full day, 4 to 5 hours, the one-on-one with JJ McCarthy. By the way, did you see kind of the glimmer in Sean's eyes when he talked about making him throw again?
Yes.
One day after his pro day. And I think there was some strategy there to test his arm, to test the resilience of it after having your pro day. Okay, all right, hot shot.
Yes.
Let's see what you've got a day later.
Let me work you out.
Yes. I think there was some strategy in that. And I also think if you're watching this out there and you're one of those who hope the Broncos end up with a quarterback, and maybe you were disappointed on Friday that Sean Payton wasn't at the pro day, this is better than being at a pro day.
Yeah, I mean, we did a whole show on Friday. Where was Sean? He's just waiting for Saturday. And
Yep.
Mace, what's interesting to note, in that 2-minute answer he gave me on pro days,
Yeah.
before your great follow-up, which is next, by the way, it took him 1:23 before he mentioned JJ McCarthy. It's like he couldn't help himself.
Yeah, we showed the part where he talked about JJ
Yes.
McCarthy. There was 1:20 where he talked about what he's looking for at a pro day, which in particular boiled down to anything that was missing from the combine workout, plus seeing how the quarterback interacts with his receivers and his teammates. Really, it was everything that had to do with matters other than throwing the football.
Yes.
But as we'll get into here, and we heard as my follow-up to Sean Payton was, okay, when you get the quarterback for that one-on-one, what are you looking for? Here's what Sean had to say.
I'd like to find out how they process, how quickly it comes. You know, if we send them information at 5 p.m. the prior day, and we send them more than we think that they're going to have a chance to study, like we've all been in that position. Now, it may not have been football, but 5 p.m. on a college Thursday, test on Friday, and more than we have enough time to study, how do they handle that? Where's the break point the next day? Is there one? Do they handle it really well? Do they really struggle? You know, what time are they at the facility? Have they been preparing? Are they early? Like all of it, it's interesting. It's fascinating. And these guys are, when I say they're not kids, but it's a good group. You know, when we're talking about some of these younger quarterbacks that, man, certainly they're prepared. They've been well coached. They've been well coached in college relative to the game, and you see the success on the field.
I thought it was great that we got that sort of information from Sean Payton because he loves talking about this pre-draft process, Mace.
He likes talking about the pre-draft process. He likes diving into these quarterbacks specifically, I think.
Oh, yeah, loves them.
Listening to him talk about what they bring, I mean, I think he's really excited about what he's learning about these guys, and maybe even a little bit surprised because this is his most earnest dive into the quarterbacks probably since the Patrick Mahomes year, where we know that he was very keen on Patrick Mahomes in 2017. It was coming off 3 straight 7-9 seasons for the Saints and Drew Brees, so you can see why he was taking a look. And I think he's certainly has a sparkle when he thinks about it.
He's
Like,
trying to
this is
find that
exciting.
sparkle again,
Yeah.
that's for sure. And when we talked to Greg Penner today, I was like, how much fun is this being around Sean Payton? I was going to get up from the table and go mingle, right? But there's this gravity, this pull, right? This allure when you talk to Sean Payton about these quarterbacks.
From a football perspective, he's got the Kavorka, I guess. Lore, he kind of went there. Yeah, you were going to get up and ask Mike Tomlin about Russell Wilson.
Didn't make it
You were
there.
going to ask Kevin Stefanski about Jerry Jeudy.
Didn't make it there.
Didn't happen, right?
No. Because Sean just has this pull to him.
Well-
And Greg Penner talked about how much fun he is being around during this time.
Yeah, the off season. He says it's not as much fun during the season. Now, it's fun right now. It wasn't as much fun when they went 8-9. If this thing's coming home at 6-11 this coming season, well, that's where you have another reason why you want a young quarterback, because if you have the young quarterback and you're focused on kind of the process of building that, then 6-11 won't feel so bad.
Right.
Like if the Broncos go 6-11 or 5-12, but it's clear they found their long-term quarterback, forget about the win-loss total. That's a successful season.
Yeah, kid
Period.
takes his lumps, but he gets that experience.
Yeah.
And that's where George Payton also comes into the conversation. He had plenty to say about quarterbacks today, Mace, and figuring out What is he really looking for when you're watching these guys on film and, of course, at these pro days?
Yeah, I mean, you can evaluate the talent. You can evaluate the arm strength, the feet, the athletic ability, the mobility, by second chances, off schedule, all that stuff you see on tape. It's the ability to process, which we've talked about. Process a lot of information in a short time and make the best decisions. That's the thing we're all searching for. I think we're also searching for the it factor. Who can raise the level of his teammates, and that's really hard to find. And sometimes you don't know it until you have it, and so that's what we're all searching for.
The processor and the it factor. The processor, of course, is one of the hardest things to figure out. That's part of what they're doing when Sean Payton talked about sending all this information to JJ McCarthy at 5 o'clock the day before to ingest it before he met with the Broncos. You're not expecting him to get everything. You're trying to find out what he has. And if he gets, let's say he gets 70% of it, that could be really good and reveal what kind of not only processor he has, but also the ability to ingest and apply information, which is what you're looking for from a quarterback.
Sean called it a breaking point.
Breaking point.
And he said maybe there isn't a breaking point. So we're kind of left to wonder, did JJ McCarthy have a breaking point?
They're not going to say.
They said enough.
You're excited.
Thanks, Sean.
I feel like your excitement came back.
Oh, yeah.
So I think the excitement of you out there, if you are in the Broncos need to get a quarterback this year camp, I think the excitement probably went up. And I think also, again, hearing him talk not just about JJ McCarthy, but the entire quarterback class.
Yes.
I kind of came away from today thinking, yeah, it's going to be a quarterback really high. I feel very confident about that now. Maybe I'm not at your 99.
57 coming up?
It's coming up. It's not your 99%, but I think it's definitely north of 60 today. Okay?
I like that.
Yeah. So, 60% quarterback, 40% field, right? But the other thing George Payton talked about was the it factor, and that is, it's that hard to quantify,
right?
In line.
When you see it, you know it.
Yeah, like some things, you see it, you know it. It's but it's something different, and it's something different for every quarterback, something different for every player.
Right.
I will say this. I felt a little of that it factor from JJ specifically.
Yes, very much so.
At the combine. I've seen the it factor on the field from both JJ and Drake May as well, watching him at North Carolina, watching Drake May and some of the shootouts that he had to find himself entangled in because Carolina's defense at times couldn't stop anybody. Just, all right, dust yourself off, got to go get another touchdown, let's do it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, you can have that it factor even if you're not winning a national championship. I mean, John Elway had the it factor, and Stanford went, 6-5?
Yeah,
in his senior season, didn't go to a bowl game.
Right.
Yeah.
I see some it factor in Bo Nix when he's under pressure. We're going to talk about some numbers Mike Tanier brought up. That's on OBT too, but
we have to get Mike Mace, back on to talk about
We
them.
do, for sure.
Yeah.
I'll ask you, Mace, as we wrap up today's program, we're not being mean, but is the it factor with Jarrett Stidham?
Do I have to answer that?
You want me to? Because I will.
I don't sense this. I don't sense it in the same way.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it. You're so nice, Mace. That is a good way to put it.
I mean, it can be a lot of different things. Something different for every quarterback. But I think what you're talking about is like that ability to rally everybody. Look, for all of Russell Wilson's flaws, he has an it factor.
Sure.
That's the thing. You actually there was a quarterback who had an it factor. Didn't work out. We'll get more into Russ and OBT too, because this was sort of the, how would we call it?
Official goodbye or handoff, if you will. Hey, we're wishing him well.
The debriefing. A little bit of debriefing as you move on from Russell Wilson here.
Yes.
There aren't going to be many questions about Russell Wilson going forward. I feel like these were the last questions to really everybody we talked to, Damani Leash, Greg Penner, George Payton, Sean Payton, about Russell Wilson. This is kind of an end of that. Now you turn the page and move on.
This is kind of the end of today's program, but we got OBT2 coming up, so make sure to stay tuned. We're in Orlando at the owners' meetings. He's Andrew Mason. But first, Help us out on YouTube. How do you do that, Mace?
You gotta like, comment, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you never miss a vid.
I had to wait for which way you're going.
We have to decide if we're going right or left first.
I think it should be never miss a vid.
We go right first.
Yes.
Our
But then
right.
4. Never.
Your left.
Yes.
All right.
Never miss a vid.
Never miss a vid.
Yes. That's
Okay.
right.
I think that, we just never have talked about it before. You're actually getting kind of the rough draft
Yeah, behind the
conversation
scenes.
of this. So consider yourself privileged to be part of the process of making orange and blue.
Yeah, we got the
today.
OBT family and Mother Nature with that wind. He's Mace. Follow him on the socials at Mace Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammey saying OBT is a BFD. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned and stay frosty.